All right, we back once again with a follow-up video, part 4 of reading the GEX charts. We've been tracking Tesla. Hopefully this stuff is starting to make sense to the few that are actually watching this. And then eventually, as this kind of information becomes a little bit more widely known, we can start really figuring out how to make plays with these charts here. But looking at the GEX, please go back and watch the previous videos so you can get yourself caught up here on what we're doing as far as tracking Tesla day by day, trying to build a case for what Tesla is going to do. Going into Friday, going into OPEC's quad witching next week, going into FOMC. We're just going to be tracking it day by day. So here's the one from March 7th. This was the one that was pulled as 10 o'clock, about 11 o'clock at night. And this was I think the first one from the first video. And basically it closed at 8:04. And we were looking for a situation where Tesla was going to be ranging between 8.55 and about 7.55-ish, 7.67, to end the week. And how we know that is because the GEX, the Gamma Exposure, and the options chain is actually going to give us an implied move. And a lot of software does this, not anything special really for this. But we definitely want to keep that in mind. So what's nice is this chart puts it all in there for you. But if you use a broker like Tastyworks or something I don't know if other brokers do it, but they'll put that on the chart where your implied move is built into the chain. Really nice to have that implied move. You really want, if you're buying out of the monies, it's nice to buy an out of the money that is within the implied move. Because those are going to get juiced up a little bit more if the stock moves in your favor. So something to keep in mind there. But right now, what we care about is when we started was 8:04. Our volatility trigger was really high, a long ways away, 50 points away at 8.55. So that was Monday. Let's go look at Monday, I believe. So here's where we close on Monday, somewhere around here. And our volatility trigger was sitting at 8.55. So we're just going to kind of walk through what was happening here. So there was our volatility trigger. What happens with the vol trigger? We know if the stock is below that vol trigger, the market maker is going with the direction of the stock. So if the stock is going up, they're buying into the strength. If it's going down, they're selling into the weakness. Once we get above the volatility trigger, the market makers, in theory, doing the opposite of what the stock is doing. If the stock is going up, they're selling into strength. If it's going down, they're buying the dip. And what that does is it kind of creates a situation where you're in sort of a melt-up type of mode, like a non-volatile type of mode, as it's above that volatility trigger. So it's important to keep track of that volatility trigger. All right, so that was the implied move. That was the vol trigger, and then we have some bigger GEX levels that were kind of sitting around, looking pretty bearish actually, as people were expecting more of a down move. As you can see, Tesla was pretty bearish at the time. But here's what happens with a lot of traders: is they get caught on these types of moves. Because they're watching their favorite stock, or they're watching a stock get destroyed all in one day. I mean, this was a pretty big move, 866 down to 794 from basically the entire day. It was just straight down. So you get pretty bearish over the course of the day as it just keeps going down. But you're below that volatility trigger, so as the stock is going down, market makers also helping push that down. Combine that with a pretty bearish day. Okay, so next day here, we're going to go look at the next one. Let me see if this is the right one. Yeah, so 3.8, which would have been yesterday, Tuesday. We had a close price of 8.24, so we see where it closed, about 8.24. Yep. And then we're looking at the GEX here. Let's just look at the differences here. So I like to see the changes as the day progressed over the next day. So we had a huge amount of GEX here. This is what we were tracking in the last video, was this huge spike here on this node. And then you can see a lot of GEX kind of building up here within this little area here around 880-ish. And so I like to keep track of all of that. We also had some GEX building up here, but you can see the difference on the put side. So these are going to be the puts, these are going to be the calls. You can see what happened. There was definitely a change of character here. And they posted it up right where that volatility trigger, which had been dropped. So our volatility trigger was 855. They actually brought it down to 825, which is pretty much right where it closed. And then, so this is where the video started yesterday was, hey, they brought that volatility trigger down, meaning that if we can open above it, that would be an excellent level to try and buy the dip, or just to make sure that you're getting long Tesla. And so we actually had a pretty good setup. If the day was a little bit better, Tesla was a little weak, but you know, there was still about 100% gainer with buying the 900s, and the reason we bought the 900s was just because that's where all the action was. But we did buy the dip this morning as it came down. This was pre-market, came down, tagged that level. Basically, it was tagged in the prior close, but right at that volatility trigger, and then it proceeded to just kind of just trend higher the rest of the day. That was the plan. The reason behind that, because this GEX level sort of going to act like a magnet, and it will be a resistance as well. If we can get over the 900, I think Tesla can go insane. But as of right now, it's going to be a massive, huge resistance, likely a pin level. That's what my play is going to be for now. Tesla trending towards 900, likely to pin. You might see a spike over it a little bit, but I don't think it's going to go much farther unless they can start building bigger levels up here to kind of pull it higher. Anyways, above the vol trigger. So moving on to the next day. So this is going to be, I don't need that day. I need today's. So here's today's. So going from yesterday to today, you can see another change of character here where we got a lot more calls being built up here. Again, they're still kind of building up in this 880. They also added to the 900s. You can see the color there. That color is represented this expiry. This is what we care about right now, is this 11, just because that's what's being in play right now, this March 11th. So we're watching that. We saw a lot of GEX built up there, a lot built up in here. They actually set a little bit of a floor here on 850 as it traded 850 quite a bit today. So we're looking at that. We saw a lot of GEX pulled off this puts. So we're seeing the puts dwindle. What happens, I think, is there's going to be an imbalance. Like right now, you see just a ton of puts here, not a lot of call activity. Then it starts to change character a little bit, pretty balanced. And now we're getting a little bit out of balance here with the put side. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. The trigger is actually still down here at 825. So I don't know. I'm still kind of learning this stuff here, so we're still going to keep track of this. This trigger being down here at 825, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think I would have rather that get pulled up following the stock, but the stock was pretty weak, so I don't know if that's why it didn't go any higher. But we closed 858. I think it moved a little higher in the after hours and then dropped back down. But expected move now has shifted to about 887 to the upside, and this got shifted really high to about 832, probably 835. You can see the expected range yesterday was 867 and 787. So the expected range moved higher as obviously as the stock moved up. So what we can do is just go say, all right, so our 887 is going to be our move to the upside. Right, yep, 887, and then our move to the downside is going to be 832, 835. We'll just say 832ish. We could probably figure out the exact number here to the downside, which is going to be this March 11th. The March 11th, that's kind of what we're looking at. Range kind of smaller than we're used to, but yeah, about 832, which is a pretty common number for Tesla to trade at. So vol trigger here, but our expected range, both the top, the high and the low are both above the trigger. So I would say, if anything, you're just looking at calls on Tesla as of right now, with that huge GEX level up above of 900 being the kind of the draw for it. Like it's just kind of being pulled towards 900. Clear out that GEX. We'll see if more GEX gets built up above those levels. And yeah, So keep monitoring this every day as it keeps changing. And again, if you guys want to join the Discord, Bear Trap Discord, in the description. Would love to see you guys in there. We'll welcome everybody. It's all free. If you do join, we do hook people up with the link to get these charts. It's in another Discord, but you guys are more than welcome to join ours. Go mess around in theirs. Link in the description. Like, subscribe if you like this kind of thing, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for part 5. Peace.